Alright, hey guys, and welcome back to another video, one that you're probably not expecting. This is the highly requested return to my Sleepin With Pete series. For those of you that might be a little confused as to what this is, it is a series of videos that I started back in 2015, 8 years ago, where I decided to make some videos where I lower my voice a bit to try and help people get to sleep, because back then I used a lot of YouTube videos to help myself get to sleep. So I figured there were a lot of people that used to comment and still comment that my voice helps them get to sleep. So I figured, okay, let's make some videos where my voice is even softer to help people get to sleep. One thing to remember, around this time, ASMR was still a fairly new concept. There were not a lot of ASMR videos at the time. And I was one of the first people within the gaming realm of YouTube to attempt to do sort of ASMR videos. Of course, things have changed now. ASMR is huge. There's tons of people doing ASMR videos, and there's apps for it now. I mean, there's all kinds of ASMR stuff. But people have always still requested that I come back and revive this series, so that's what I'm doing here today with a slightly different format, which I'm going to get into. So yeah, this is going to be a long video. This is a video that is meant to help people get to sleep. Now, yes, you can watch this video, of course, but this is a video that is meant to, you put it on your phone, or your tablet, or whatever you're going to put it on, and you kind of just let it play in the background as you try and get to sleep. If you're someone that suffers from insomnia, these types of videos can help people. There have been some people that have told me they've watched my old Sleepin With Pete videos dozens and dozens of times over the years to help them get to sleep. So my goal here with the revival of this series is to create the best version yet. These videos will be much longer than my previous ones, and that is the goal by using a magazine, which once again I'll get into here in a moment. And just a heads up right up front so you're not worried, I have disabled all ads on this video, so the only ad that will play is a pre-roll. So once that pre-roll is done, and once you're watching this video, there will be no ads in the middle of it, and there will be no ads at the end of the video, so you don't gotta worry about being rudely interrupted in the middle of your sleep if this does lull you to sleep in the middle of the night. So now that we've sort of got the introduction out of the way, I'm going to talk about how I'm reviving Sleepin With Pete. In the past, and one of the main reasons I stopped making that series was because I was actually struggling with ways to make videos that were long enough to put people to sleep. Not everybody can instantly fall asleep within 20 or 30 minutes. Some people need longer videos. And admittedly, it can be hard to think of a topic that I can sit there and talk about for that long while keeping it interesting and not having any kind of notes and doing it cut and edit free, which this video will be also cut and edit free, so I'm sure whenever I fumble over my words, I do apologize. There will be no edits, there will be no cuts in this whatsoever. One of the main reasons I stopped is because, well, anytime I would also come up with a topic, I was like, well, that would also make a really good topic for a normal video. And I would just, make it for a normal video rather than an ASMR video. But I figured this is an amazing way to pivot in that I'm going to try a new format here where I go through my extensive collection of magazines that I've had that I have not looked at pretty much since I got them. I have hundreds and hundreds of old gaming magazines that I bought or received in the mail back in the day from my personal collection. So I have, personal attachment to a lot of the games that are shown in here, especially because I just randomly picked one out of my stack, and this one just looks like it's going to be really good. I have not looked through here yet at all, but just judging by the cover here, we've got 27 RPGs for the GameCube, Xbox, PS2. They talk about Final Fantasy X. They talk about all the consoles. That's why I picked out Electronic Gaming Monthly for the first episode here, is because it's, it's spread across all consoles. So everybody, no matter what kind of games you're into, they will cover something in here for you. But the nice thing about a magazine is that it will take me a long time to go through it. We're going to go through it page by page by page. And I will be able to give my memories on certain games. I will be able to commentate on their commentary within here, like articles. I'll read you guys some articles. I'm not going to read everything. I don't want to lose my voice here, though I do have a nice warm cup of green tea off to my left. It's actually pretty hot. I hope it cools down by the time I need to use it. And I will say that when I use these kind of videos to put myself to sleep, not saying that I use ASMR videos, I just kind of pick videos that I kind of like the person's voice and it helps me get to sleep. I do think it is important to have a little bit of downtime, a little bit of pause between sentences, so I'm not going to sit here rambling the entire time. There will be pauses of several seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, where I'm kind of just flipping through the pages. I think having those moments helps relax your brain and helps get you to sleep. I know I've been rambling on nonstop here in the intro, but I do think it's important to get these things out of the way. Before we begin here, the last thing I'll say is, please, I am doing this video sort of experimentally. If this is something that you're interested in seeing more of, please be sure to leave a like before you fall asleep, because then you'll forget, right? Be sure to leave a like or a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. And if people really seem to like this, then I will definitely try my best to put these out for you guys on a regular basis. Anyway, so tonight we are going to be looking at Electronic Gaming Monthly from February 2002. They advertise Smash Bros. Melee tips and tricks, state of emergency, most controversial game ever. Boy, oh boy, how things were different in 2002. They cover the PlayStation 2, the Xbox, the GameCube, the Dreamcast, the PlayStation 1, and the Game Boy Advance. Got 1,000 hours? Some people actually have invested 1,000 hours in Final Fantasy X, but that's a little exaggerated. Leads the RPG onslaught for 2002, and yes, 2002 was just an amazing year for games in general, and especially RPGs. Metal Gear Solid 2, Halo, Tony Hawk 3, the creators revealed their tips and secrets and strategies. Lord of the Rings, 3 new video games unearthed. Ooh, I wonder which ones they could be. EGM's hot list for what's in 2002. And then their little commentary here, it's a little hard to read, but it does say in parentheses, very small with an arrow pointing towards Tidus. Yes, this is a dude. It's Final Fantasy X's Tidus. They also review Legends of Wrestling, Madden 2002, Star Wars Obi-Wan on the Xbox, Harry Potter. They preview Maximo, Spider-Man, Soul Calibur 2, and Genma Onimusha. Let's jump in. We're first greeted with an ad for New Legends on the original Xbox. This is actually a game that I have played about a year or two ago. It is super janky. It's very silly. It's insanely over the top. The cutscenes are just ridiculous, but I actually had a lot of fun with it. It's something that I went into with very low expectations, and from what I remember, it isn't a exclusive game to the original Xbox. So if you're a fan of weird, janky action games with silly cutscenes and voice acting, definitely check out New Legends. Should be pretty cheap. The nice thing about these older magazines, they are just filled to the brim with advertisements. Another amazing original Xbox game that I definitely regret having not have played sooner. This is Ozarek. This was a game that launched with the Xbox. It's still an exclusive, it always was. It's a game that a lot of people will kind of compare to Avatar in a way because of the way that the character looks, but it's an amazing looking and somewhat, I wouldn't say amazing playing, but I really love the environments in this game. It's super colorful. The areas in here are just like nice high fantasy, great variety, you know, the typical video game stuff with ice levels and forest levels. But it does a very good job of not making the levels feel super rigid. They have a nice organic nature to them where you feel rewarded for exploring every little nook and cranny within each level. Jet Set Radio Future, look at this, just front-ended with so many amazing games. We've got an ad for Jak and Daxter, the original on the PlayStation 2, and of course the best one, in my opinion. Game that set the bar for what would eventually become the open world scene. No loads, just seamless open world 3D platformer. Still one of the best of all time. We're greeted by one of the, I don't think I've ever seen this controller before. We've got a third-party Xbox controller from Gamester, not Gamester 81. It gives you an unfair advantage, apparently. Look at that D-pad. That looks incredibly uncomfortable to use. It's just like little dimples on a round piece of plastic. Oh my goodness. This looks like the kind of controller you would give your friend when they come over to play some multiplayer. You just give them the third-party controller. This ad, I'm telling you, ads back then, they just don't make them like this anymore. They're pointing out that it has great design, but then they're pointing to the girl here, and it says, better shape. Nice curves, killer grip. Boy, how ads were different 20 years ago. How times have changed. Our contributing writers for this magazine were Shane Bettenhausen, Peter Felonk, Gary Steinman, Christian Nutt, Chris Baker, and John Ricciardi. Thankfully, I got a new prescription of glasses so I can read some of this incredibly small font. Oh, here's the most controversial game of all time, according to EGM in 2002. Star Wars Racer Revenge. Oh man, I revisited this game recently on the PlayStation 4 digital version, and not a fan. I think the original Star Wars Episode 1 Racer is far superior. This game actually kind of frustrated me. The AI rubber banding is just ridiculous. It has way too much of an emphasis on destruction, but if you're into more of like a Twisted Metal Demolition Derby style take on Episode 1 Racer, then you might want to check this out, but it definitely is not for me. I'm kind of just glancing through some of these letters here. You know, once I will occasionally stop and read some of the articles that they have. If I see one that has an interesting headline. Oh, we got an ad for Extreme G3 Racing, one of my absolute favorite racing games from this era. I played the GameCube version. Absolutely amazing sense of speed. I love this game. I love the music. I love all the tracks. In my opinion, one of the greatest and most underrated racing games to ever come out in the early 2000s. Absolutely try it if you have not. How about we just read some of these? So this is an article called "If You're So Damn Smart." We asked you to send us your picks for the best and worst games of all time, and boy, did you let us have it. Here are some that didn't make our list. Feel free to compare these readers' choices. So let's see what we've got here. Oh man, imagine if somebody that's watching this video like sees their article in here, how crazy, like their response, how crazy would that be? I'm not trying to tell you how to run a magazine, but Jet Grind Radio and Shenmue should have been placed in the top 100. Interesting. I actually played Shenmue from beginning to end in its entirety for the first time a few years ago and absolutely loved it. And I almost agree with this sentiment. I completely understand why people cherish Shenmue as much as they do now. I tried playing this 2 times when it first came out, not too long after, with a guide, without a guide. I just could not get into the original Shenmue on Dreamcast. But I revisited it for the HD collection to prepare for Shenmue 3. And I was absolutely blown away by it. I got totally engrossed into the world, into the characters, into looking for sailors. And then Shenmue 2 is the cherry on top. In my opinion, I prefer Shenmue 1 over Shenmue 2. But yeah, absolutely agree. I was very let down by Shenmue 3, however. It was not worth all the build-up playing the previous 2 games. I was not invested enough to even finish it, sadly. Someone here says, ever play Plumbers Don't Wear Ties for the 3DO? It was a dating sim where making the right decisions could get you a plumber, the blonde. If you gave her 7 correct lines, you won the game and got to watch some crappy pictures. Just think about it, makes me want to cry. I've actually played Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, and I went into that game blind. I never watched the videos that most people watch, like what the Angry Video Game Nerd had covered on that game. I knew I'd play it one day, and sure enough, I did, and wow. It lives up to its reputation. There's just some absolutely crazy scenes and cutscenes in that game. I was a little worried while I was streaming it. I actually had to censor some stuff because it is fairly risque. There is a lot of nude butt shots and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's quite the game. This person says, my worst Christmas ever followed my opening of Bill Lamebier's Combat Basketball for the Super Nintendo. Never heard of that. Ooh, an ad for Frequency. One of my introductions, like most people, to the music rhythm genre. 2 Heroes, 1 Hope. That's a nice ad for Final Fantasy X. And imagine the hype building up to Final Fantasy X. I'm sure their article in here is going to be massive. GameCube on the system with a handle launches in the US. Wow, imagine that being like your headline. I feel like the handle was just so underrepresented. Like nobody ever talked about the handle. It was kind of just like there. Have you guys ever lifted your GameCube up by the handle? I don't think I ever have. In fact, lifting it by the handle kind of worries me because of like possibly displacing the laser. A girl snatches a GameCube from a helpless Mario whose costume unfortunately lacks articulating hands. When you leave dozens of GameCube titles on the counter, an angry mob of gamers comes to buy them all. Yeah, and probably steal them all too. You gotta be careful. I don't think you would see something like that anymore these days. A bunch of sealed GameCube games just sitting on a table like that. No security. How about we read this one? This will probably be an interesting one to read. Christmas came early, in the middle of November, when not one but two consoles launched 3 days apart. Xbox on November 15th and GameCube on November 18th. Now, I will interject my own commentary in here. I'll let you guys know. I'll give a fairly, decent pause to let you know. I think you'll be able to tell when I'm interjecting my own commentary here. I'll kind of change my tone a bit, but just think about that for a moment. Xbox launching 3 days apart, or GameCube launching 3 days apart from the Xbox. My goodness, what a time to be alive. I got the GameCube on launch, which I waited online for, and then unfortunately, just not able to afford to get the GameCube and the Xbox back to back like that. Imagine being able to get both 3 days apart though, and all the games. I mean, very expensive endeavor. I did have to wait a bit to get my Xbox, but oh my goodness. You just don't see stuff like that anymore. Consoles launching 3 days apart. I miss the old console wars so much. That week, both machines battled not only each other, but the release of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone and the biggest PlayStation 2 release of the year, Metal Gear Solid 2. Gamers with leftover cash on Sunday strolled into their local game store and walked out $200 later, GameCube in hand. Lines formed early in the morning, but chances are, if you were there on day one and wanted a system, you didn't go disappointed. After all, there were 740,000 of them for the whole continent. In informal polls taken by EGM staff, Rogue Leader and Luigi's Mansion seemed to be the most popular titles, with the Cube Madden close behind. Personally, one of my favorite games was Super Monkey Ball. I thought that was a super sleeper launch game as well as Wave Race. But those are also two very strong picks, and it's not a surprise that Madden would be fairly close to those given its popularity. Not to be outdone by the weekend's other hot property, Nintendo boasted that GameCube was hotter than Potter, racking up hardware and software sales totaling an estimated 98 million, to Potter's box office take of 90.3 million. Although if movie tickets were $200 apiece, we're sure the scales would be reversed slightly. It's a bit premature and too close to call a winner until the sales numbers are accurately tallied. Both are declaring victory in their own way. Nintendo says they sold more GameCubes than Xboxes, while Microsoft is content to say they sold more games per system and will not divulge how many units they shipped. Sneaky, sneaky. Whatever the case, the battle is far from over. We'll be there to keep you updated. Let's read the word on the street. We stopped by some of the GameCube owners leaving the local Babbage's store on launch day to ask them a few questions. Here's what they had to say. So Rob Shelby from Naperville, Illinois said, "What games are you looking forward to on GameCube?" And Rob said, "Metroid Prime and the new Mario game that's coming out next year." "And do you like GameCube's mini DVD format?" "It's fine. It's about the quality of the games and how much fun it is, not the size of the discs." Size matters not. They asked Joe McCune from Oswego, "Why'd you pick GameCube over Xbox?" "I think Microsoft should have stayed out of it. Nintendo's always done the best game systems ever." Man, I would love to check in with Joe these days to find out if he has an Xbox. James Keithley says, "Why'd you get a GameCube over Xbox? For one thing, it's cheaper. You can get the system and a couple of games for $300. It wouldn't take that much to get the Xbox system. It's just as powerful. You can't store as much memory on the GameCube, but when it comes down to graphics and gameplay, it's just as good." And then little Kevin Long here, looks like a pretty young kid, says, "What makes GameCube the best system?" Kevin says, "Well, I like Nintendo systems, and I like the GameCube. It looks really cool." Hot take from Kevin. "What's your favorite Nintendo game?" He pauses. "I have a lot. I like all of them." That's a true gamer right there. Kevin Long. Wonder where he's at now. Alright, we gotta treat it fairly. Time to read the Xbox side. Microsoft enters the lucrative console market. The first Xbox buyer at the Microsoft-sponsored launch party at San Francisco's Embarcadero Electronics Boutique. There he is. He looks very happy. 2 years ago, you couldn't talk about Microsoft without Windows and Bill Gates popping up in the same sentence. The corporate Goliath launched a major upgrade to their trademark operating system in the form of Windows XP on October 25th, but millions of eyes are instead focused on mid-November, when the hype-laden Xbox took to store shelves. Microsoft chairman Bill Gates makes the distinction that while both XP and Xbox are super important to the company, they didn't bring the rock to the Windows XP launch. The rock was on hand for Microsoft's big Xbox launch event at the newly remodeled Toys R Us in Times Square, which I do want to interject here. That has since closed down. For those of you that do not know, I actually watched a interesting little documentary video on it. I have been there several times. It was an amazing store. Several stories with the Ferris wheel inside. I actually still have a sealed copy of the final game that I ever bought at that Toys R Us location. It was actually a copy of the Hello Kitty Cruisers racing game on Wii. Still have it sealed with the original sticker on it from Toys R Us. That has since closed down. It's actually super sad. Of course, all the Toys R Us's in the US have closed down, with the exception of little pop-up stores that they sometimes put in, like Macy's and such. November 15th marked Microsoft's first foray into console gaming, at a time when Sony's PlayStation 2 and Nintendo's GameCube, the latter of which came out just 3 days afterward, would pose formidable competitive threats, but Microsoft didn't seem to mind being the greenhorn in this multi-billion-dollar industry. If you had to ask us, we'd say that PS2 is somewhat more of a direct competitor than GameCube, Gates admits. We take them both very seriously. There are things they've done well, and then there are things that they've done that really leave a huge opportunity for us. The launch time fever surrounding the Xbox was minimal compared to the PS2 release in October 2000, but with two consoles debuting simultaneously in a faltering economy, it's not surprising that demand for the Xbox fell where it did. Microsoft and Nintendo are reporting almost identical sales during their first weeks on the market. Most of the Xbox units that sold, though, estimated to be around 300 to 400,000 units, but after the morning assault on electronics stores had subsided, many stores still had plenty to go around. Nonetheless, lots of retailers had people lining up as early as the afternoon before launch day. Worried consumers thought they might get the PS2 launch shaft all over again if they didn't get out early. When sales began, Halo, Dead or Alive 3, and Project Gotham were the decided favorites, with Munch's Odyssey close behind. I just want to give a personal shout out to Mad Dash Racing, probably one of my most anticipated games for the original Xbox launch, believe it or not. I don't know, just the concept of an on-foot racing game wasn't really done very often. The last time I'd seen that was Running Wild on the PlayStation 1. According to Gates, however, it's not just the games that make the Xbox different. There's no way this would have made sense or been possible 5 years ago. Gates says there's a fundamental capability that we have here, most importantly, to inaugurate the idea of online broadband gaming. Online gaming. Well, we haven't heard a concrete word about how and when the Xbox will go online. Xbox General Manager Jay Allard certainly has high hopes. An Xbox World, Microsoft Virtual World to which online users will connect. Is that what they actually called it? On Xbox World. I guess they dropped that name. They obviously switched it to Xbox Live. I could be wrong. Maybe this is something that exists that I don't remember. That's why reading these old magazines is always so fascinating. You catch little tidbits where the history of games was planned in one way and then it just completely changes because of what we know now. But when you're reading this article when it first came out, you wouldn't think, you're not going to remember after the fact, when Xbox Live comes out, you're like, oh, that's what they were supposed to call it, Xbox World, right? You don't remember that kind of things, but looking back on it now, it's just so much more stand out. So let me just backtrack here. On Xbox World, gamers of all interests and ages can log on and find their friends, be guaranteed there's not going to be any cheating, and just have an overall tight experience. Well, I don't know about the cheating. There was definitely some cheating back in the day, and still today, of course. Microsoft plans to have 20 games running online by the end of 2022, and that is one promise that they definitely kept. Xbox Live, look at how big it is now with Game Pass and everything especially. Alright, word on the street, new Xbox owners couldn't escape our roving reporters either. Here's what they had to say. How long have you been in the line? This person says, I'm not in line for Xbox, I'm just here to get a PS2 game, Metal Gear Solid 2. Oh, what an amazing quote. Can you believe that there's a line this big for Xbox? This person says, yeah, but I think there'll be a bigger line for GameCube. Ouch. So, are you going to be in line for GameCube? Rob Adder says, no. What games are you getting today? I want, what's this game called? Halo. So why Xbox and not GameCube? because, with a Z, it's like 20 times better, and it has more gigabytes and everything, and it has a Pentium 3 processor, and all that stuff, says Nick Conan from Naperville. Oh man. Imagine saying that you're buying a game because it has more gigabytes. Are you buying an Xbox for yourself or someone else? Anonymous Mom says, my kids. What about GameCube on Sunday? Are you going to get that too? No. No, I haven't heard of that. It's a new Nintendo system that's coming out Sunday. Don't tell me about it. I don't want to know. They had some fun quotes in here. Alright, let's take a little respite for my voice. Let me take a sip of this hot green tea. Oh, that's hot. My goodness. I use one of those Yeti mugs. Oh my god. Gotta be careful I don't burn my throat. So they're highlighting a few Lord of the Rings games here. That's a little wordy. We're gonna bypass that. You'll have to excuse my glare here for those of you that are deciding to watch instead of just listen. I wanted to make sure that I had good lighting on here, more so for my eyes, so I don't go blind trying to read this stuff. So some reflection is going to be happening. Star Wars Obi-Wan. One of the jankiest Star Wars games I still have yet to play. Speaking of yet to play, I still have to play Simpsons Road Rage and Simpsons Hit and Run. Never played either of those. Ooh, Twisted Metal Small Brawl. Who's excited for the comeback of Twisted Metal? That Twisted Metal show is coming out at some point, probably this year. And I'm expecting interest in Twisted Metal games to also go up along with that, and I'm going to assume that they have a new game coming as well. Afterthoughts on Metal Gear Solid 2. Let's just pick out one of the questions that's answered here from Hideo Kojima. It says, which moment are you most proud of in Metal Gear Solid 2? Kojima says, the scene where, ooh, this might be slight spoilers. You know what, we won't do it. Otherwise people are going to be jumping up out of their seats and beds to mute this. Yeah, this is actually filled with spoilers, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are still wanting to play Metal Gear Solid 2 and haven't played it yet, so let's leave that for another time. Oh, I think I know what ad this is. I love this. Man, I completely forgot about this ad. So for those of you that are just listening, it's an ad where somebody's sort of making like a shadow puppet with their hands up against the wall with a light reflecting on their hands. Check out what it is. Look at that Okage ad. 3 pages for an Okage ad. He's making a shadow stand. Are you in control of your shadow? Don't be certain, at least not until you meet Ari, a young boy from the village of Tanel, who has lost control of his spirit of a 300-year-old evil king. Now it's up to you to join him on a quest to help win it back. Along the way, solve puzzles, decipher mystery clues, and fight battles in a bizarre adventure that will test your wit, skill, and make you question the proof of your own reality. One of my favorite PS2 RPGs. I've done speedruns of this game. Absolutely love it. I originally fell in love with this game because of the art style. I really like that sort of like Tim Burton-esque look, and also the way that the game played with depth of field. It was one of those games where the background was like highly blurred to kind of give you this perspective of, or illusion of depth, and I really liked that at the time. It's very overdone looking back at it now, but I always loved the sense of style that this game had. Highly recommend it if you're looking for something a bit different for a turn-based RPG on the PlayStation 2. Best Buy says, we asked male gamers aged 12 to 14 what they thought was important. Here's what they said. Super Mario World, Super Mario Advance, Frogger's Adventure, Wario Land 4, Spyro and Mario Kart on Game Boy Advance. Hey, a $5 off coupon for any Game Boy Advance software title or accessory, $19.99 and up. Oh man, what a shame I didn't cut that out of the magazine. Ooh, they have a Yuzo Koshiro interview. Where are they now? Game father of video game music. So for those of you that are unaware of Yuzo Koshiro, it says here, if you don't know him, Yuzo Koshiro, whose music accompanied the urban beat-em-up Streets of Rage, Ninja action game, Revenge of Shinobi, and God game ActRaiser talks about breaking into the game music biz and fragging fans in first-person shooters. Composed one of my favorite soundtracks for the series, Etrian Odyssey. I absolutely love all of his Etrian Odyssey music. I don't think I've ever listened to a song that I disliked from that series from Yuzo. Favorite game? So Yuzo Koshira's favorite game in 2002, they asked him, and he said, I only play Team Fortress and Day of Defeat these days, but before that I played through every game in the Street Fighter II series. When I immersed myself with Street Fighter, Zangief and Ken were my characters. Wow, interesting. His favorite food is Indian and Tibetan foods. I like spicy foods and sushi too. His favorite movie is the first trilogy of Star Wars, but episode 1 was no good. I've actually grown very fond for episode 1 myself over the years. I really appreciate the prequels way more now that I'm older, and especially seeing what Disney did to the Star Wars series. Really makes you appreciate what George Lucas did for the prequels. We've got an ad for Electronics Boutique, advertising the original Xbox and a couple games, highlighting Bloodwake, Nightcaster, the Xbox Remote, a $35 Xbox memory card, and they're highlighting a bunch of Tony Hawk games across many consoles. Let's see here, game gossip and speculation. Let's see what we got here. Konami's going on a bit of a retro kick. In the near future, they'll be bringing a collection of classic games to the Game Boy Advance, Russian Attack, Time Pilot, Gyrus, and the original Frogger, and AR Kung Fu. They'll all be included. Sorry folks, no plans for Metal Gear Redux. On the Metroid front, it looks like Samus won't be blasting aliens till at least Turkey Day 02. Buzz is growing to be slightly more positive levels, but I'm staying skeptical on the whole business. At least we know that Nintendo developed Game Boy Advance Metroid 4 will be good. Remember when Frequency was supposed to have online play? That kind of fell apart when Sony's online push was delayed. What? Hold on. How do we go from talking about Metroid to completely 180ing talking about Frequency going online? Interesting. Yeah, that's right, Frequency on the PlayStation 2. For those of you that remember, when you bought your PlayStation 2 broadband adapters, it actually came with a demo disc that I believe had online function in some way for Frequency. I do, they just kind of shake my memory of that. Ooh, they have a little article here on the Pokemon Mini. Interesting. That thing is extremely expensive. The Pokemon Mini is a nifty little gadget available exclusively at New York City Pokemon Center, Rockefeller Center. It's available with one game for $40. Yeah, this is very expensive now. It has its own little proprietary carts that you would insert into this little Tamagotchi looking thing, and you can play Pokemon games on there. But if I remember correctly, Pokemon Channel, I think it was, or Pokemon Box, I think it was Pokemon Channel, let you play all of these games digitally on the GameCube game. Ooh, interesting. The top 20 best-selling games of October 2001. So I'm going to play a little exercise with the listeners, if you're listening to this, to try and get to sleep. And this is something to help you get to sleep as well. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to think back to 2001. What do you think were the top-selling games? And then let's see how many you can get right. And while I give you a moment to think, I'm going to take a sip of tea. I'll give you a hint for the number one game. It is an action game. One that is still going today. Alright, 10 more seconds. Alright, time is up. The number one selling game in October of 2001 was Devil May Cry for the PlayStation 2, beating out Grand Theft Auto 3, in order, Madden NFL 2002, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, Pokemon Crystal coming in at number 5, Spy Hunter on the PlayStation 2. Wow, I never realized that game sold that well. NBA Live 2002, Mario Kart Super Circuit, NBA 2K2, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Ooh, this is super fascinating. And then real quickly, number 11 is Silent Hill 2, Super Mario Advance, Driver 2, Ace Combat 4, NFL 2K2, NASCAR Thunder, NHL, 2002, Madden 2002, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 on N64, and Gran Turismo 3. Japan's top 10. Ooh, this is a really interesting list. I'll give you 10 seconds to think about what number one might be for Japan. I'm just going to tell you, it is a Dreamcast. Oh, actually, no, I take that back. It is a PlayStation 2 game that is a sequel to a Dreamcast game, but this sequel is a sequel that we never got in the United States. Many would consider this game to be extremely weird, but cult favorite. Tons of people love this game. It involves talking. That game is Seaman, A New Beginning, so it must have been a sequel that came out in PS2 in Japan. That was the number one seller, and that just shows you how much different Japan is from us here. Number one game in October of 2001 is Seaman, followed by Bushin Wizardry Alternative. Pachinko Slot Azure King for the PlayStation 1. PlayStation 1 had a third best-selling game. Crazy. Pro Baseball Japan 2001. Number 5 is Shin Sangoku Muso 2. Battle Pachi Slot Winning Tech. Seigi no Mikata. I'm just gonna pretend like I know what these are. Gun Survivor 2 Code Veronica. Oh, that's interesting. That's the sequel to Resident Evil Survivor that we never got here in the United States. I actually own this. I haven't played it yet. Maybe one of these Octobers I'll get around to it. Pikmin on the GameCube, and last is Power Smash 2 for the Dreamcast. We've heard it mentioned a lot, but here's an ad for 2-page spread ad for Metal Gear Solid 2. Some of the quotes that they have are, final score 10 out of 10. This game is the reason you bought a PlayStation 2. I know everyone is expecting this game to be good, but I have to tell you, I was shocked at just how great it is. Metal Gear Solid 2 has once again stunned us, and we're once again on our knees to Kojima-san and his heroic team. IGN. Yeah, they're on their knees, alright. I'm sure they are. As of now, we've seen nothing, absolutely nothing, to suggest there will be a better game on any system this year, period, says Next Generation. Look at all these 2-page ads. You don't really see too many 2-page ads anymore for games. It's a lot of 1-page stuff. Heck, there's not many magazines even left these days. There's still Game Informer, which I did get for a year when I did like the Game Pro or the GameStop membership thing. I'm like, yeah, let's just see what a modern magazine looks like these days, and it's very empty. It has nothing on these old magazines. These old magazines are just so much fun to look through. I love when they're cramped with ads and tons of little tidbits all over the place. Now it's just so boring and empty. Here's an ad for Drak and the Ancient Gate. It's a great little PlayStation 2 exclusive. There's also a PC version, but if you're into action games and flying around on dragons, it's a really fun game. We got an electronics boutique ad. Advertising an electronics boutique exclusive for a shark drive for the PlayStation 2. I'm actually not sure what that is. Some kind of Game Shark thing that uses discs, maybe. I'm not sure what that is. Oh wait, Shark Drive. Do you put this in your car or something to play games in your car? I have no idea. Let me know in the comments. Crazy Taxi ad on the GameCube. It's really a shame that new iterations of Crazy Taxi are not really able to use Offspring music. Oh, this might be fun. How to remedy your crappy present blues. No one likes getting McDonald's coupons, tube socks, or cruddy video games for the holidays, but don't take it out on Aunt Mabel's weak back. Though it is tempting, follow these easy steps to turn your post-holiday woos into a veritable treasure trove of games. So if you got Kabuki Warriors for the Xbox on Christmas morning and the official strategy guide, they said the solution is return these to the store before the prices drop. The two may be worth a Halo and a good chunk of a DVD remote. And they say if your parents mistook Star Wars Episode 1 DVD for GameCube's Rogue Leader, if it fooled mom and dad, it'll probably fool Johnny Checka at Blockbuster. Get us? I still gotta play Kabuki Warriors. They've got a preview for State of Emergency. A game I rented and I was not really into it. I wasn't really feeling it. We've got a little insert, 2 for 1. Get 2 years of Electronic Gaming Monthly at the 1-year basic price. That's like getting 1 year free. Plus, look for periodic strategy guides or posters. Oh, I used to love those posters with EGM. There was so many great posters in EGM magazines over the years. Still have a lot of them hanging up, actually. There's a preview in here from Maximo Goes to Glory, a game that was brutally difficult. Exclusively at Sears. Receive $5 off any of these new and exciting PlayStation 2 games. Ooh. Jak and Daxter, Eco, Okage, Kinetica, Gran Turismo 3, and Game Day. That's a great selection. Whoever put this ad together, they know what's up. Hurdy-gurdy preview. Deus Ex preview. A full-page ad for Tron on DVD. Spider-Man preview, Jedi Starfighter, Star Wars. Airblade, Blade 2, none of these are really standing out to me like I want to read them. Yeah, Freakstyle, MotoGP 2, Tiger Woods, PGA Tour 2002. Meh. We'll keep moving on. We've got a 2-page ad for Kinetica here. What's great about looking through these magazines is a lot of this artwork and advertisements are things that you just don't see anymore. Because a lot of times they had exclusive advertisements for certain magazines or like a very small ad that ran for a very small amount of time. So unless you bought these magazines or like that one magazine that had the ad, you've probably never seen the artwork before. There's a reason why you see these sellers that go on eBay and they sell just like ripped out ads for magazines, because sometimes they can be really hard to find. If you don't know what magazine they originated from, you might have a really hard time tracking it down. So that's why people buy them. If they like the ad, they might just buy it instead of trying to track it down. Oh, look at this. They actually previewed Resident Evil Survivor 2 Code Veronica, a game that never... See, this is what I imagined would happen when I just was like, you know what, let's go through a magazine. I was kind of hoping that we'd find one of these games, an article on a game where they preview it like it's coming to the US, but then it doesn't. So let's read this article on one of the Resident Evil games that was supposed to come here but never did. Granted, the first Resident Evil Survivor wasn't so hot. Alright, it sucked. Hey, I'm going to interject here. I actually played Resident Evil Survivor for the first time on PS1, and I played it without a gun. I actually had a blast with it. Yeah, it was silly. Yeah, it wasn't the greatest game ever, but I had a ton of fun with it. It's a game that you can definitely play without using the gun if you're just looking for a really short, quick romp through a linear first-person Resident Evil game. I thought they did a good job. I think it gets a little bit too much flack for what it is. Unfortunately, the game is quite expensive, but if you have the means of playing it, definitely give it a try. But with Capcom bringing all new mainline Resident Evil games exclusively to the GameCube, this import-only light... Oh, they're actually pointing out that it's an import... Oh, so they're previewing an import-only Resident Evil. Okay, interesting. This import-only light gun game is the only new Zombie Blaster PS2 owners are going to get for some time. The poor bastards, they say. Like the arcade game, it's based on Survivor 2, loosely following the events of Resident Evil Code Veronica. Unfortunately, the controls are still a problem, whether you use the DualShock 2. What genius decided not to use the second analog stick in a first-person shooter, they ask. Or even worse, the GunCon 2. And a blurry, blocky graphics are an embarrassment to the detail and intricacy we expect from this series. But it's not all bad. Familiar monsters, like the Nemesis from Resident Evil 3 and the Resident Evil 2 Lickers, and some extra modes added for the home version, including a roach mode where you blast rooms full of little suckers, should at least please diehard fans who might import this. It's not a very glowing preview for that game. We have one of these thicker cardboard inserts. The ads where you can get 4 DVDs for 50 cents each. Man, I remember these things back in the day for like music CDs and stuff. You would like pick out the ones you want and send it in. Ooh, a preview for Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. Let's see here. Let's read the last paragraph. Nitpickers will be happy to know that Sonic Adventure 2 Battle runs faster than the Dreamcast version, controls just as well, although the camera angles are still problematic, and looks even better. Sonic Team has added a lot of graphical touches to the game, such as realistic shadows and updated Phantasy Star Online version 2 billboards. That's a really interesting thing that's a highlight. So if you've bought a shiny new GameCube and need some 3D platformer action, you only need to wait for a certain high-speed hedgehog to make his bow. Preview for Soul Calibur 2 and Smashing Drive. Wow, look at this preview for Smashing Drive. It's like 2 or 3 sentences and a bunch of screenshots, which is fine, honestly. Like, showing screenshots is not a bad way to preview a game, but let's just read how little they had to say about Smashing Drive. A fun little arcade game that I kind of enjoyed. Programmed by Gallico, an obscure Spanish developer, Smashing Drive is like a crazy taxi with a side order of extremeness. By extreme, you mean using battering rams and buzzsaw power-ups to clear a path through your rush hour graveyard shifts. Power-ups are integral to earning the most money and points to the shortest amount of time. Play against a friend or a computer when Namco ships the game in early 2002. Guess that's actually not that bad of a preview. Wounds will heal. Oh boy, check this ad out. Boom. And don't you love how these older magazines did these sort of like, they give you a glimpse of the ad and you're like, ooh, this looks, what's this gonna be? And then there it is, the Silent Hill 2 ad. But your mind will be scared forever. Who's getting hyped for that Resident Evil 2 remake? They did a preview for Resident Evil GameCube. Classic. Genma Onimusha Reckless the Yakuza missions. So far, I've still only ever played the first Onimusha, and this is the version that I played. I played Genma Onimusha. It was a great game. Really loved it. Look forward to getting around to the rest of the series sometime. Hey, is this a typo, or is that actually how the game is spelt? See that? Circus Maximus, but the U is a V? Did they make that same typo in here? I don't see it. Interesting. Blood Rain, Rally Sport Challenge, Bloodwake Unreal Championship. Oh, look at this. This is so cool. An ad for, I always see this sticker, especially on a Legend of Alondar. The RPG, the great RPG giveaway. Get 3 of the season's hottest RPGs. Just look for this sticker. So they have Grandia 2, Legend of Alondar, Jade Cocoon 2. Buy any 2 of the games above. Send in proof of purchase and get the 3rd game free. Man, what a cool, I have to admit, that's such a cool idea. So in other words, you buy Grandia 2, you buy Jade Cocoon 2, and then you get Alondar for free and are most likely regretting your life decisions. But I will say, I did play Alondar again a couple years ago, and it's way better than you think it is. Way better, if you give it a chance. Sonic Advance preview, King of Fighters EX, Star Giants. Star Giants. For Game Boy Advance, that does not ring any bells. Is this an official game? Let's read this. Italian developer Raylight Studios is hard at work on the space combat sim that bears more than a passing resemblance to Origin's classic Wing Commander. It's no coincidence, as this game is based on the best titles in the genre and will offer a very similar experience. Considering the hardware it's on, that's no mean feat. What's exciting about Star Giants, outside of the pretty graphics, is the multiplayer modes Raylight is planning. Up to 4 players linked can play deathmatch, team deathmatch, and even regular missions in a co-op mode. As of this writing, Star Giants has no confirmed release date or publisher, but here's hoping it will soon. Wow, this is definitely some kind of like lost artifact. It's a little first-person sort of Wing Commander game on Game Boy Advance. I don't think this ever came to light. That's why I love looking through these older magazines. You find stuff like that. It's kind of like a cool little lost in time game that everybody forgot about. Dead or Alive 3 ad. Wow. Imagine a Dead or Alive 3 ad that is so tame, if you know what I mean. Dead or Alive ads in general. Oh, here we go. Let me take a sip of tea for this one, because this is the big article. Attack of the RPGs. Alright. Let's find out what was coming out. I'm not going to preview this. I'm not going to spoil it. We had Final Fantasy X, of course. They review it on page 150. I'm going to take a guess. What do I think EGM would have given Final Fantasy X? I'm going to say that they gave Final Fantasy X a 9.5. Probably a 9 or a 9.5. I'm going to say a 9.5. Actually, no, I'm going to say a 9. Okay, let's find out whether mentioning Lederhosen Lederhosen here. Titus, the hero of Final Fantasy X, reintroduces a fashion footnote we never thought we'd see in a modern RPG, the Lederhosen. Pants worn by hornblowers who trapeze through the Swiss Alps. This hot item will no doubt be the latest rage at a comic convention near you. They're highlighting Project Ego? I don't remember an RPG called Project Ego on Xbox. Let me read this. I mean, this sounds familiar, but I don't think this came out. They must have changed the name. Let me see here. Lionhead's Project Ego, one of the most open-ended and graphically impressive action RPGs we've ever seen, lets you begin the game as a young buck. How you develop your character through adolescence determines how the game adapts its inhabitants and subplots to your actions. Too good to be true? We'll see. Man, that sounds like Fable. Kind of looks like it. It must be. Oh, right, that's what they used to call it, isn't it? Yes, it is. Wow, interesting. How cool is that? Kingdom Hearts preview. Yeah, nobody cares about Kingdom Hearts. Ooh, Final Fantasy 11. Now we're talking. Let's read this one, shall we? The prospect of playing yet another sequel, even in the mega hot Final Fantasy series, within such a short time since the last game might prompt groans and overkill, but this follow-up ain't your everyday Final Fantasy. Like Phantasy Star Online on the Dreamcast, Final Fantasy XI's drama unfolds in cyberspace, and the distinction here is that this game is massively multiplayer online RPG similar to EverQuest on the PC, meaning thousands can frolic online. And at the same time, early estimates put a limit at 5,000 players per world, while mere multiplayer online RPGs such as Phantasy Star and Diablo only let a few quarters hang together. Ha, take that. So what are all these people going to do? Square says the game will have an overall quest like the past Final Fantasy games, but they've yet to reveal how this story will fit into the online world. 11 takes place on a planet called Get Ready for Final Fantasy Mumbo Jumbo Now, Vana'diel, a place populated by 3 character types, the Hume, the Taro, and the... Oh, interesting. They call them here the Elverin, so they changed the name. They're called Elven, and they didn't mention the Galka. Interesting. Or the Mithra. And I guess at that point they hadn't introduced them yet. Oh, wow, look at all the different names here. So Vana'diel is split into 3 huge kingdoms. Bastak, but they spell it Bastaque, whereas in the official release it was spelled Bastok. Sandoria, which is very similar, but they're missing the apostrophe. And Windus. Winhurst is how it is spelt and officially pronounced now, but in here in the magazine they're referring to it as Windus now. It makes me wonder if the person that wrote this article was listening, because typically old video game journalism, a lot of journalists would go to events like E3 or go to Japan, and they would actually listen to someone speak and they would take notes on a notepad, and then maybe that's kind of how they transcribe this into the magazine. These can be explored by participants on the PS2 and the PC alike. Some areas are accessible only to a certain character type, and we figure each race will find mini-quests specific to them in those parts of the world, which is somewhat inaccurate, because for the most part, every character race can go wherever the heck they want, but there are a couple of quests that are specific to certain races. What's even more astounding is that all this will happen remarkably soon. 11 is slated to hit Japan in spring 2002 and could reach the US by the end of the year. Still, a key detail Square is yet to discuss is how Final Fantasy XI will shatter the language barrier for its pros community international subscribers. Phantasy Star Online packs an elegant, if limited, system of phrases translated, so let me answer that for you, Electronic Gaming Monthly. 11 had a really cool system where you would type in what you want to type in English, and then you would kind of like press tab, I think it was, on your keyboard, I don't remember. And it would actually just like show you what you want to say, and then it would type it in for you, and then when that is posted in the chat, it's automatically translated. So if somebody in Japanese wanted to converse with you in their native language, they can. And if you wanted to converse with somebody in English to someone in Japan that can't read Japanese, you can, because they would auto-translate these phrases, and it worked really well. You know, so you'd have stuff like looking for group, party, do you need it? You know, stuff like that. Very like simplistic English, but it worked. Okay. Oh, they have a little bit more over here. Let's see here. A companion disc with the Japanese version of Final Fantasy X shows a teaser of the Japanese gamer sending emails to pen pals in America via Square Enix's play online service. Whether this sort of feature ties in with Final Fantasy 11 is yet to be revealed. So yes, Play Online did have an email system. Play Online was incredibly convoluted. Definitely not everybody's favorite part of Final Fantasy 11's online infrastructure. Is it your kind of quest? If the popularity of Phantasy Star Online is any measure, 11's running on the millions of PS2s and PCs around the world should indefinitely be more stimulating and successful. While we hate hooking a keyboard up to our PS2s, we'll do anything just to scratch that +9 Vorpal itch. So for those that don't know, Final Fantasy 11 is still going. They are still releasing, like, they were supposed to at some point stop releasing expansions, but they released one more surprise expansion, and it's still going under new leadership. The team is quite small, but the game is still alive. You can still play it. You still have to pay to play it. But there are a lot of private servers that are actually probably way more popular than the official servers at this point, and I played on multiple private servers over the years, and maybe that's a video for another time, but I have delved back into Final Fantasy 11 as recent as like a year or so ago. So I'm still playing 11, having a lot of fun with it. I mean, I don't play it now, but I played it about a year ago for a couple months, and then I dipped out, as I typically do. Play it for a bit, dip out, come back to it at some point again. And these are private servers that run the old legacy style 11, and you don't have to pay. It's free. Let's see here, we've got Suikoden 3 preview, Arc the Lad collection. Another little insert for saving 20% on the strategy guide for Final Fantasy X. Look how colorful these ads are. Really grab your attention. We had a preview for Grandia Extreme, Wild Arms Advanced Third, which I think ended up just being, yeah, they just called it Wild Arms 3, not Advanced Third. Don't blame them, sounds a lot nicer. Ooh, a preview for Shadow Hearts. Let's see what they say about this. It's nice and small. Oh, they reviewed it. I'm going to say that they give Shadow Hearts an 8. An 8 sounds about right. Maybe a 7.5. This unusual RPG comes from the developer Saknoth, who brought the lackluster Kudelka... Hey, easy there now. Who brought the lackluster Kudelka on the PlayStation 1, published by Midway in the US, and Shadow Hearts tells the story of a psycho named Yuri, who's commanded by voices to rescue a young girl from a serial killer renamed Roger Bacon. You pursue him through the Chinese countryside, then embark on a grander adventure to put a stop to his satirical, often demonic shenanigans. Oh, and have we mentioned that Yuri can transform into an assortment of violent beasts to kick supernatural ass? No, you have not. A Xenosaga playthrough. We never got this limited edition. It says here they haven't commented on whether or not it's coming here or not. No, we never got it. Oh my goodness, I love that ad. I want to rip it out and frame it. So beautiful. So we have a giant, for those that are just listening, we have a full page, absolutely stunning, full color advertisement for Guitar Man on PS2, one of my favorite games on PlayStation 2. One of my favorite games of all time as far as I'm concerned. Music tames the savage beast, an entirely new type of music entertainment. Simply put, Guitar Man is one of the most entertaining titles yet in the rhythm action genre, and still is all these years later. There still hasn't been anything quite like Guitar Man. I love that game. Really impossible to play on HD TV, though. You kind of have to play it on a CRT. We have a preview for Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, the game that made me buy my Xbox. So that'll give you a good time frame of when I bought my Xbox. So I waited about, what, a year-ish? Because I bought my Xbox with Morrowind, Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind on the original Xbox. So that's the game that sold me on the console. It just looked too good to be true. I just remember reading a full page preview of it, and wow, it sold me on the game so much, and it lived up to the hype for sure. I'm not going to read the full thing here, but let's just read a little bit of their preview. RPG fanatics weaned on the linear storylines of traditional console role-playing games might think their beloved genre's gone goofy when they play Morrowind, the Xbox's very first RPG. I was trying to think if something might have come before it, but they could be correct on that. There weren't a lot of RPGs on Xbox, and I think Metal Dungeon was much later. Courtesy of Bethesda Software, this PC port doesn't yank you from the plot point to the next, roll cutscenes every 10 minutes, or any of that other hand-holding stuff common to console RPGs. Take that, Final Fantasy X. Instead, it's just a behemoth adventure set in a sprawling land where any hero with time to spare will find a bazillion things to do. That's just not because the game's open world here, which encompasses about 10 square miles, is huge. And it's not because the game lacks a point, although you can take on hundreds of mini-quests, everything from hunting down a monster to escorting a character from one place to another. Your character still has one main goal: to save the providence of Morrowind from the ancient cult. The main reason this RPG is such a time waster is its immensely immersive world details right down to the forks and spoons on villagers and dining tables. Walk into a guy's house and you can look through his cabinets and find his extra paints or pens and read all the books. Yeah, that's just crazy. And they definitely lived up to that. That was one of the most fun things about Morrowind and all the Elder Scrolls games, was just how much you could explore and kind of like snoop around homes and stuff. We've got some mini previews here for games such as Tactics or Gaiden, The Knights of Lotus. A preview for did a review for Suganai Atonement. I'm gonna wait to actually see what their review is. I'm gonna say that they gave Suganai a 6. That's not a super well loved RPG by many people. What is this? Feng Shen Yanyi's Legends of Gods and Heroes, PlayStation 2. This must be... I am not sure what the heck that is. Some Tecmo Koei game. Interesting. Is that one that we never got here? Interesting. If you know what this is, let me know. It's probably something that's just, I don't know, the US equivalent of it. They reviewed Forever Kingdom. Oh my goodness, they reviewed Wizardry. Oh man, the reviews section of this is going to be so cool to see what they gave scores for these games. I'm going to say that they gave Forever Kingdom a 5 or something like that, 5.5. I'm going to say they gave Wizardry a 6. And I'm going to say they also gave Suganai a 6. Skies of Arcadia, Phantasy Star Online, Grandia 2. I like their layout. Look at this layout here, where they're using the little RPG text boxes. Great little layout. They put a lot. They used to put so much effort into old video game magazine layouts like this. RPGs at a glance. It's a cool little spread out they got here. Let's see. Are there any interesting ones in here? Very basic stuff here. A little so they use an image for every, so for people that are listening, they have like a little almost like Excel sheet kind of spreadsheet style thing here. And they're showing you, the name of an RPG, the system it's on, the release date. They have a picture of the hero, the quest, what you're doing, like how the game looks and what kind of battle system. So obviously for Final Fantasy X, they have a picture of Tidus. For Skies of Arcadia, they have a picture of Vice. Kingdom Hearts, they have a picture of Sora. And then for Phantasy Star Online, they just have this random picture of this guy with an afro. It just says you. Let's see. Apparently in Xenosaga, your love interest is Jesus. And your love interest in Kingdom Hearts is Miss Potts from Beauty and the Beast. Man, whoever put this together definitely had some fun with this. The EGM Slick List. People, hardware, concepts, and software. Let's see what we got here. Oh, this will be cool to read. So it says, Taro Iwata, Nintendo's next president. This man is fast becoming the new face of Nintendo in Japan, where he serves as the company's director of corporate planning. Formerly a 17-year veteran of HAL Laboratory, Iwata was responsible for the creation of some of Nintendo's biggest franchises, including Kirby, Super Smash Bros. Now he's in charge of everything from overseeing internal and external development projects, formulating the company's top secret online strategy, quality games in a variety of genres that were not found on former Nintendo platforms will be announced and launched next year. He tells us, keep an eye on this guy. Analysts in Japan think he could be Nintendo's next president after current president Hiroshi Yamauchi finally stepped down later in 2002. There you go. The revival of fighting games. Are you ready for another round? Virtua Fighter 4, Tekken 4, and the new Mortal Kombat classic arcade fighting franchises are bursting on the consoles in 2002. Now that the home hardware can duplicate an arcade-perfect experience, minus the greasy punk players and sticky floors, why not? Mortal Kombat co-director Ed Boon thinks it's high time for a rebirth. In arcades, we had to concern ourselves with giving the player as much entertainment as possible. So here's 50 cents. Now we're wiping slate, completely reinventing Mortal Kombat. Cool. We got next game. Console hard drives, the new secret weapon. A couple of years ago, hard disk drives seemed as important to console designs as keyboards and mice, but in 2002, console mass storage will begin to deliver through added frills that will wonder how we'll ever get along without it. The Xbox's built-in HD hard drive offers the most obvious benefits, beginning with Xbox's games like Unreal Tournament. You'll be able to download new titles and other extras, and that doesn't count perks such as disk catching for quick loading and other game worlds. Sony has similar plans for the PS2 hard drive, due for release when the company's online network launches this spring. Online voice communication. Oh my goodness, what an amazing article. Like all these little things that were sort of like so new and exciting back then, and now it's just commonplace. So here's an article that's headlined Online Voice Communication and has a picture of an Xbox controller with a head, like a mannequin head wearing a headphone. When broadband online gaming hits consoles by mid-2002, it's bringing one heck of a perk with it: online communication via headset microphones. Both Microsoft and Sony are readying these chatty gadgets for their respective systems, and it's possible these mics will be released in bundle deals. Microsoft is thinking of packaging the Xbox Game Commander microphone and with subscriptions to their online service. So just to interject here, that's actually what they did. If you didn't know, back in the day, if you bought Xbox Live when it first came out, it would come in a physical box with the headset and your online subscription. So if you wanted Xbox Live, you actually had to go to the store to buy it. So they did keep their promise on that, but they didn't call it the Xbox Game Commander microphone, to my knowledge. While Sony may include theirs with the online shooter SOCOM, US Navy SEALs, and just to interject, that also is true. They did include a microphone headset with SOCOM because I bought it. And that little, you know, that was like the little headphone that could, that thing, that thing was through the ringer. I kept that thing for many, many years to the point where it was breaking and I was holding it together with tape and everything. You know the struggle if you played SOCOM. While this technology has delivered novel but disappointing results in the Dreamcast and Alien Front Online, which only lets you transmit 5 seconds of bark commands or chatter, Sony and Microsoft microphones promise to be way higher technology. The Xbox Communicator allows for continuous chatter, says Tim Hess, producer of the Xbox online shooter Unreal Championship, one of the first games to take advantage of the gadget. You can mute yourself, but you can still hear other players. The headsets will also allow you to talk to your entire team or just single out individual players for one-on-one strategy sessions. Oh, that's interesting. I'm not sure if I ever played a game that did that. You know, let me know in the comments if you guys know, but I don't think I've ever played a game where I was able to choose one person to talk with in the group of a team, like just be like, hey, I want to talk to this one person. They got a little article here on video game TV shows talking about Electronic Playground. I never used to watch that, so I'm not going to read that. Garage game development. We got a nice full page ad for Harvest Moon Save the Homeland, one of my favorite PS2 games. Let's take a sip of tea. It's still blistering hot. Help my throat out though. Alright, let's see what we got here. Ooh, Tetsuya Mizuguchi. I love his games. I feel I need to make more innovative games to expand the game market, says the head of Sega's United Games Artists, which mixes shooters and music games to make 2002's first revolutionary title, Rez, one of my favorite games of all time. Next up is a Space Channel 5 sequel, which I just played recently and I was not a fan of it. Oh, and speaking of, look at that. Wow, I see what you did there, EGM. They know what's up, look at that. They mention Rez and on the next page we get a full page Rez ad? What the heck? I think I actually have. I was at a convention one time, and one of the people they were selling laminated ads. I'm pretty sure I bought this laminated ad. Like I paid probably like $5 for it, but I think I bought this page right here, laminated. It's a really beautiful ad. Let's see here. Home theater movies. Old school goes new school. Revival of the fittest. Let's see what that's all about. You've seen it before. Once a major publisher gets a decade under its belt, it'll dig through its catalog to find a popular game from old days to shine it up with 3D graphics for a release to nostalgic gamers. Oh boy, do people in 2023 know that feeling all too well. So many remasters and remakes now. But in 2002, the flashback floodgates will bust open and unleash new installments of Nintendo's Metroid on GameCube and Game Boy Advance, Tecmo Koei's Ninja Gaiden, Mortal Kombat from Midway and Defender, and Konami's Castlevania. Why the recall of these old school heroes? Since the NES days, attempts were made by various internal teams to revive Ninja Gaiden, but none of them made it to the final approved version, says Tecmo's Tomonobu Itagaki. Of course, I'll make sure it satisfies expectations of fans from the old days. We also have a little article here on cell phone gaming. Look at the picture of this cell phone. For people that are just listening, it's like a really ugly yellow, not even like, I don't even think it's a flip phone. I think it's one of the ones where it's like so old that it doesn't even flip open. If only they knew back then what mobile gaming would become in terms of the impact on the industry. It says here, 3G phones are still expensive, $400 and up, but it's only a matter of time before the price is right for most gamers. Let's see here. Cashing in on consoles, pirate games. Oh, they mean literal pirates, like, our kind of pirates. Sega Reborn, Sonic for Everybody. Okay, let's see what this is. Sonic for Everybody. It's an ugly business to exit. Sega of America President Peter Moore says of his company's decision to leave the hardware market and publish games for every system. But we became a phoenix, rising from the ashes. Talk about a maiden flight. Famous names like Sonic, Phantasy Star, Jet Set Radio, Sega GT, Panzer Dragoon, Skies of Arcadia, and more headed to a console near you in 2001. Now, everyone will learn what Sega loyalists have always known. This company's got game. We got a nice full-page ad here for Shadow Hearts. Amazing ads in here. My God, what is this magazine? This issue has amazing ads. Alright, it's time for the reviews. Let's see if my predictions are right for what they're scoring their games. Alright, first up is Draken. They get a 3.5, 5, and a 5.5. Don't forget, these are at a 10. That's really low for Draken. That game deserved a little bit better scores. Oh my goodness, Guitar Man gets a 7.5, a 7, and a 6. Here's what they say. Every well-crafted stage flows like a mini rock musical. A great combination of frantic Japanese rock guitar and wacky anime-inspired action. And the person that gave it the lowest score says only the hardcore music genre crowd will get much out of this short title. Yeah, they must suck at music rhythm games. Yeah, if you're bad at music rhythm games, you're not going to be able to play that game. They say the worst feature is it's way too short. It's like, it's got replayability with the difficulties. I can understand that argument, but still, such an amazing game. Wow, Jade Cocoon 2 getting a 7, and 8, and 8. That's higher than I'd expect. That almost makes me reconsider what they're going to score the other RPGs I predicted. They say as strong as the battle system is, it doesn't give you enough control. It's little details like this that make Jade Cocoon 2 feel like your success is more of a game of chance than it is of skill. And it says Jade Cocoon 2 inspires the sleeping role-playing addict to awaken. Seems like high praise. I still have yet to play Jade Cocoon 2. Okay, Final Fantasy X. I said it was going to get like 9s and 9.5s, and sure enough, there it is. A 9, a 9.5, and a 9.5. I personally hope they never go back to the old active time battle formula. Well, Greg, you got your freaking wish. Shane says, Tidus and Yuna's epic quest genuinely moved me. That means he cried like a baby at the end. And Milkman says, extended play reveals a much more rewarding experience. Legends of Wrestling, it's a 7.5, a 7.5, and a 6.5. Mobile Suit Gundam Zeonic Front gets a 5.0, a 6.5, and a 7.5. NFL Game Day gets a 2.5, a 3.5, and a 2.0, and they say it's reminiscent of some of the worst N64 and PS1 football efforts. Damn, Dan L., don't get me too excited. I love bad games. Unfortunately, Game Day deprives me of my Kodak moments, says Dean. This must be what it's like to play a football game in a swamp, says Craig. Ooh, man. Parappa the Rappa 2 gets a 5.5, 5.0, 5.0, and a 6.0. Oof, man. They're harsh on these music rhythm games. The worst feature is it's too short. I mean, what do they expect? Music rhythm games kind of just rely on replaying for high scores. It says the music isn't as catchy as the story, and the story isn't nearly as fun as the previous work. I do agree with that. I don't think the music is as good overall as the original game, but it's still a great game. Some great songs in there. The Noodle song, you never forget it. Parappa the Rappa 2 offers less gameplay than the first and lacks the ingenuity and novelty. And the same as most of us have played twice already. The same game most of us have played twice already. Harsh. Okay, here's their res review. 7.5, 7.5, 8.5. That feels fair for its time. I think res has gotten better with age. I mean, look at how many times it's been remade. Even most recently as a PSVR 2 upgraded title. They say layers of eye candy and ear candy. Very true. At first glance, res will evoke a what the F response from most people. Yeah, sure. It was very startling for its time. Res was so ahead of its time, visually. You had never seen a game quite like it before, and don't forget, it originally came out on the Dreamcast. I didn't play it until the PlayStation 2 release. But it is very true, and still today, you don't really see too many games that accurately replicate the just splendor of Res's eye candy. And the last review here says, radical departure from the sights and sounds of gaming as we know it. It is true, there were a lot of games that would become inspired by Res, but I don't think there's enough Res-likes out there. I feel like you need to be very ambitious to tackle a game like Res, and I don't think a lot of indie studios really have what it takes to really try and make a game as dazzling as Res. It takes a lot of work, a lot of visual technique and skill to be able to make a game that looks as good as Res. Ooh, man, Shadowheart's getting slammed with a 5.0. Gene says it's a so-so RPG status. The worst feature of the game, according to EGM, is the lack of interesting monsters and exciting or challenging Excuse me? The worst feature? First of all, lack of interesting monsters. The game has a ton of interesting monsters. What's not interesting to you about a town of cannibals that transform into werewolves that eat people? And then they say it lacks exciting or challenging battles. Are you the worst feature? Shadow Hearts has one of the most exciting and challenging battle systems of any RPG. What are these people on? The Judgment Ring takes extreme amounts of skill, and that skill makes it exciting. For those of you that don't know Shadow Hearts, there's essentially this ring, like a clock-like thing that pops up during battle, and you have to stop a very fast and you have to be very accurate. It's like if you're at an arcade and you're trying to like stop a spinning light to win a prize or something. You try to do that to enhance your attacks and get critical attacks. It's very, very challenging. A lot of high skill ceiling. So they're saying the worst part of this is that it lacks exciting and challenging battles. The person that gave it a 7.0 says it's a unique, offbeat, and dark, oftentimes funny story with a modern, real-world setting. Okay, I mean that's a pretty alright take on it. And the person with the most favorable review with 8.0 says the game's Judgment Ring is the best solution yet for adding timing to RPG battles. It's like they're contradicting themselves here. They give Forever Kingdom a 6.5. Only one person reviewed it, and Shane said single-player Phantasy Star Online set in a trippy fantasy world. Yeah, I mean that sounds pretty accurate. Oh, I like this guy's take. He says the best feature of the game is the surreal soundtrack, and I totally agree. I actually do think the best feature of Forever Kingdom actually is its music. It was insanely trippy. If I remember right, the composer was like half deaf or something like that, so the music sounds like even more interesting because it's something that you've really never heard anything like it before. Oh my goodness. They gave Grandia 2 a 4.0. Also reviewed by Shane. So he gave Forever Kingdom a 6.5. He says for Grandia 2, these visuals aren't just slightly worse, they're unforgivable, amateurish, and unfinished. And he says the worst feature is the vomitous graphics. So I guess he's not a fan of the ports from the Dreamcast version. They give Max Payne a 7.5. Star Trek Voyager Elite Force gets a 2.0. They say the choppy movement nearly gave me an epileptic seizure. Interesting. I haven't played that one. That's the first-person shooter Star Trek game. Wow, okay, they gave Suganai Atonement a 7.5, a little higher than I was anticipating. They say the best word to describe Suganai is solid. The best feature is unique plot and character development. Worst feature, slow battles bog down the action. I actually very much agree with this review, because I do think the worst feature of Suganai is the battles are very slow. It's a one-person, sometimes two-person RPG battle system. The game itself is very slow in terms of the plot and the pacing, because a lot of the game takes place in a town where you're not doing battle. But the gimmick behind this game is that you actually take control of different varying characters. You kind of like possess their body and you control different characters to do your tasks for you to accomplish like the story missions. So you're always playing as different characters. And then the timing, the battles actually have a timing system. So as you attack and defend, you're trying to very, very precisely press a button to kind of like enhance your attack or enhance your defense. Wizardry, the Tale of the Forsaken Land gets a 5.0. They say all wizardry really has to offer is a lengthy maze. Ooh, the burn. Best feature is the stylish character artwork and dialogue. And the worst feature is a maze of twisty passages, all like, well, welcome to Wizardry Dungeon Crawlers. It seems like sometimes they assign these games to people that, you know, these aren't really games for them. Let's see here. Is this a review of Smash Brothers? Ooh, it is. Their game of the month is Super Smash Bros. Melee. Not unsurprising. They get a 9.5, 9.5, and a 9.5 across the board, saying a great fighter that's got more than a Nintendo fan could ever want. This jam-packed sequel will make you crap your pants with glee. And it says this is the best reason to get a GameCube yet. I don't disagree with any of this. Smash Bros. Melee is, say what you say, we'll say about it now. You know, maybe you think it's a bit overrated, you know, whatever. But back when this game came out, it took the world by storm. If you were a Nintendo fan and you hadn't played Smash Brothers, you weren't a Nintendo fan. This was a quintessential part of your GameCube library. Everybody had it. Everybody had tons of fun. You'd gather with friends, you'd play it. Tons of game nights that you have so many great memories of. You know, you had that one friend that always picked Fox or Marth, and you were there picking, you know, like Game & Watch or I don't know, like what are some of the bottom tier characters? Pichu or Ice Climbers or something like that. You know, you always had that one friend that was picking the most OP character back then. I had a friend like that. They always picked Fox. Oh my goodness, was it annoying. I, by the way, my main character was Sheik. Sheik was my main. And then my backups would be like Kirby and a little bit of Game & Watch. Madden 2002 got a 9, an 8.5, and a 9. Dave Mirror Freestyle BMX got an 8.5. FIFA 7.0. Azuric Rise of Parenthia got a 4.5, a 4.5, and a 2.5. Don't believe their reviews here. Still give this game a shot. I do recommend it, especially for the cheap prices you can get it for today. Max Payne gets a 7, an 8.5, and an 8. I still have yet to play a Max Payne game. Star Wars Obi-Wan gets a 3.5, a 5.5, and a 3.5. They say, unfortunately, this isn't the Jinsu simulator I was hoping for. Oh, come on. They missed a Star Wars pun there. They could have said, unfortunately, this isn't the Jinsu simulator you're looking for. Or I was looking for. Come on, Craig. It ain't Jar Jar bad, but it's not Darth Maul good either. Oh, come on, Jar Jar. Jar Jar deserves a lot more credit today. He used to get so much flack back then. Hoshigami, Runes of Blue, or Ruining Blue Earth. I think it's Runes of Blue Earth, right? Ruining Blue Earth. Maybe it was Ruining Blue Earth. They give it a 6.5. So sadly, the developers forgot to steal the best part. Hoshigami has no real character classes or job system. Arc the Light Collection gets a 5.5. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone gets a 4.5, a 6.5, and a 6.0. Nice big ad for Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. One of my favorite PS2 games. Mega Man X6 getting a 3.5. A fine specimen of a rush job. A botched rush job. I haven't heard the kindest things of Mega Man X6 from fans. Mega Man Battle Network getting a 6.0. They say fun, but it's more of a Mega Man fan, more for Mega Man fans than anyone else. I thank you for your assessment there, Chris. I think a lot of people would disagree. I think you can totally play the Battle Network games without knowing anything about Mega Man. They're so vastly different. In fact, I played Mega Man Battle Network 2. It was the first game in the series I had ever played recently. I enjoyed it. I played it for a couple hours. You know, it wasn't enough to really grip me to want to play too much more, but I enjoyed the couple hours that I played with it. I totally understand the hype. I understand why people love it. Game Boy Advance Tekken 5.0, 6.0, 6.5, a game that a lot of people forget even exists. Not a lot of people know that there's a Tekken on Game Boy Advance. Got a code section. Oh yeah, back when magazines used to have code sections, and pretty extensive ones at that. Arc the Light Collection, full page ad. What is this? Clay Animation, my anti-drug. Freevibe.com. Huh, interesting ad. Halo's Inner Circle. Oh, they got a little thing here telling you tips about playing Halo online. Let's read about how you had to play, what you had to do to play Halo online. It says, yes, you can do it. Here's what you'll need. A PC, an Ethernet hub with cables and at least 3 ports, a credit card you can charge $20 to, a FAT connection, meaning DSL, a cable modem, T1 line, etc. A 56K modem connected to the internet is just too slow for it to work. It sucks, we know. And then once you have all that, you go to gamespyarcade.com/support/tunnel_xbox.shtml for software and instructions on how to get it running. Note, this network is neither endorsed nor supported by Microsoft. The software is also a bit buggy. But if you're patient, the payoff of unlimited Halo online matches is definitely worth it. Practice up and watch this space next month for a chance to play against EGM editors. Oh, check this out. Exclusively at Game Music, we have a page here advertising a bunch of video game soundtracks. The thing about soundtracks back then, and especially now, there's so many fake ones out there. I wonder if these were the real ones. It's supposed to be gamemusic.com. I'm sure that URL is not linking to this any longer. I'd be surprised if it is. They're advertising Symphony of the Night, a bunch of Final Fantasy games, Chrono Cross, even Legend of Dragoon, Sonic Adventure. They have a 2-page spread on tricks for Metal Gear Solid 2. The Tankard chapter, try this. I actually did my first playthrough of Metal Gear Solid 2 for the first time a couple years ago. Finally, after all these years, and I really loved it. I got very engrossed in it. Before playing it, I watched a video on YouTube of, it's like a 4-hour video that recaps all the story of Metal Gear Solid 1, so I got really into that. Because it'd been a bit since I played Metal Gear Solid 1. Played through 2, and the way I played through it was, because the story gets so complicated, I actually brought up like some kind of like novelization of the game. So every time I would stop playing it for the night, I would read the novelization of where I got up to kind of like help summarize the story for me, and that made me get really into it. I definitely appreciate Metal Gear Solid 2 on a much higher level than I did before playing it. Got some New Year's resolutions. Let's just pick one at random. Let's choose, who's that person that was slamming all the RPGs? Let's see here. Let's read Milk. I promise to swear less in the office. I feel it's time for me and my coworkers to do his blanking share. I also resolved to have a daily kickboxing session with Che, and to buy a new motorcycle and park it in my cube. Lastly, I swear to educate the average consumer on bogus terms like Gamebox, X-Cube, PlayStation Advance, and Nintendo tapes. We have our sole PC advertisement in here, advertising games such as Civilization 3, Return to Castle Wolfenstein, for the low price of $50. And then we've got a little advertisement in the back here saying that Xbox Now and XBN, I'm not sure, I don't think I ever bought that magazine. XBN Holiday 2002 Game Guide and Pocket Games. I definitely had this Pocket Game book, I believe. And then we have a No One Can Stop Mr. Domino ad at the very end. I wouldn't say it's the best ad. Kind of a weird one for a weird game. Next month, they do some Maximo exposure. Official PlayStation Magazine does their Final Fantasy X issue with a demo disc containing Okage, Dynasty Warriors 3, and Final Fantasy X. That's a great little demo disc there. We have an ad for Gundam Zionic Front in the back, full page ad. And then our bookend is an ad for Formula 1 2001. And our back cover are Maximo shorts, Maximo Goes to Glory ad. So there you guys go. I hope you enjoyed the return of Sleepin' with Pete as a chill magazine reading type of video. I really hope this helped get some of you to sleep. If you want to see more videos like this, please be sure, of course, after you're done sleeping, maybe when you wake up the next day, to leave a like and a comment. Let me know that you liked it and you want to see more. I'll see you guys in the next video. Sweet dreams. Thank you for watching.